Terra Arcanum is a world filled with wonder. From the four planes to the mysterious abyss, nearly everything has a story to tell. But to learn more about this fantastic world, we need to dive deeper than the books and the tabletop RPG. Join me as we reveal the secrets of Terra Arcanum. As the Titans rebuilt their fallen civilization, life slowly crept back into the world. These new creatures of Terra were quite small, but over the course of millions of years, that life grew, and continued to grow until many of them rivaled the size of the Titans themselves, as if the planet itself was trying to compete with them. One such species was the ancient Earth Dragons. Like many of the behemoths roaming the land over 60 million years ago, the Earth Dragons came from a much smaller species. The Titans gave this particular creature the name Dracarne, or Child of Thorns, after the many horns and spikes that covered the creature's head and body. Though small in size, the Dracarne were natural predators that preyed on insects and even smaller animals than themselves, and while their armor of spines did deter many predators, they were still preyed upon by many of the larger reptiles of the period. But despite their small stature, the Dracarne species would become the ancestor of many larger families, including worms, drakes, wyverns, and dragons. Late in the Vegpalza era, millions of years after the Dracarne had gone extinct, one of its successors would hatch into the first dragon. At first glance, these earth dragons bared little resemblance to their modern-day kin. Their necks were short, their bodies were much larger and bulkier, standing over 4 meters at the hip. Their clawed hands did not have opposable thumb claw, and they lacked the ability to breathe fire, nor did they possess any wings, but they still shared the gift of intelligence. Upon observation of the species creating fire, the Titans took a vested interest in the Earth Dragons. One day, Polus overheard 2 dragons making a collection of noises. Further investigation led him to believe that these sounds were the first semblance of language. Over the years, they watched as the dragons developed tools and learned to raise the creatures they preyed upon in confined areas. It was then that the Titans knew they had discovered another intelligent race and reached out to the dragons. The Titans guided the fledgling race, assisting them in understanding the world and sharing with them their own knowledge. In time, the dragons came to be equals of the Titans in the fields of mathematics, science, and history. But one thing separated the species like the ocean did the land. The dragons were mortal. With a lifespan of about 100 years, the dragons would inevitably die, leaving the Titans they befriended with only their memories of them. This cycle of life and death, losing treasured friends at such an astonishing pace, left the Titans feeling hollow. They mourned the dragons' inability to forever grow and learn with them. And so they met with Gaia, and pleaded for her to let them use the power of magic to make the dragons immortal as they were. At first, Gaia steadfastly refused to allow the use of magic. But after more generations of dragons perished, and many of her beloved people suffered from the loss of their dear friends, Gaia conceded. The Titans gathered the material they would need for the ritual, and created an arcane circle over 15 kilometers in diameter. They then revealed their plans to the dragons, and allowed as many as were willing and could fit within the ring to undergo the ritual process. With the ingredients ready, and the dragons awaiting their transformation, the Titans began the ritual. But the energies proved too great to be controlled. The magic again lashed out, killing the Titans performing the ritual and many who were gathered to witness the great event. Many of the dragons within the circle were swallowed whole by the rampaging magics, and the world was plunged into the second calamity. Like before, the planet seemed to come to life as natural disasters ravaged the world, giving way to strange, unnatural events that plagued the land, sea, and sky for years. This destruction wrought havoc across the globe until it finally petered out after a torrential rain of fire. The only remnants of the second calamity was a dark, swirling pool of mysterious liquid at the very heart of the ritual circle. This pool would eventually become known as the Abyss. Climbing out of the ashes, the Titans renewed their vow to never again use magic. But the dragons that had managed to survive now knew the Titans' greatest secret, and they were curious to learn more.